Hi, I'm Tim from Marathon Mates. On this episode, we're going to share some of the running highlights that we found in 2023 from both a personal point of view as well as from across the running world. And we're also going to be talking about what we want to see and what we're looking forward to in 2024. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying RuNR, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Flying RuNR Podcast. And guess what? It's 2024.
Yeah.
Hey.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone out there. And it's going to be a big year this year. 2024 is huge, particularly for Team Alice, but also for Team Curl as well. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen this year in 2024 for us and what we're looking forward to seeing. But we'll also do a little bit of a recap and a highlights best of, I guess, for 2023. So we'll look through 2023 and discuss what we got out of it and talk a little bit more about 2024, as I said. But before we do any of that, I want to welcome Tara and Tony to the show. Happy New Year, guys, and how are you going?
Yeah,
Tony?
good. Happy New Year's to everyone as well.
Yeah. Tony, how about you? How's your Christmas and New Year period been?
Yeah, it's been very quiet and really good, to be honest. I really enjoyed just having a bit of a break and eating and drinking far too much, as we all do. And there's a couple of kilos that probably need to be dislodged from my frame. But yeah, it's been pretty good. And even from a training perspective, we've kept the movement up at least. So yeah, it was looking forward to 2024.
Excellent. Have you done any running or racing?
Yeah, we did. We signed up to do the resolution run down there at the Gold Coast on New Year's Eve at Emerald Lakes Golf Club. One of the guys at work who's quite a quick runner put me onto it. It's a bit of a family event. We did the 12K run. There's a 4 and an 8 and a 12, and there's a 500-meter race for the kids, and then there's a 1 kilometer race for the kids. It was just a really fun event. As for the run, I've never felt so bad after a 12K. It was hot. It was muggy. The lightning was threatening to drop some rain, but I would have welcomed some rain, but we didn't get it. So I felt worse after that 12K than what I used to feel after a marathon. It was just, I was soaked. It was, but yeah, it was a great run. As it just highlighted to me how far away I am from Tokyo at the minute, and my rehab's not going as well as what I would like. I've still got some pains. I noticed that my shoes, when I took them off, were heavily worn at the back, so I know that I'm heel striking really badly. And so I've been doing a lot of work in the last couple of weeks to unlock the ankle and to get the Achilles and the calves all starting to work a little bit better. It's hard. It's working, but it's working slowly, if you know what I mean. It's not going to be a quick fix. And as of last Sunday, we're 9 weeks away from Tokyo. So a little bit nervous about where I am in terms of Tokyo, but I've got no doubt that we will get to the finish line, the start line. I've got no doubt we'll finish, but there's going to be a fair bit of stress in between all of it. So what about you guys? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so look, we haven't been racing, as everyone knows. Well, maybe not everyone does, but we've been keeping December pretty quiet. We're just on recovery because we have got a big year coming up, and we've had a big year, so we're just trying to keep it a bit lower. So we've been doing just mainly park runs for December.
Yeah, I think all up it was about 40 kilometres that we ran each in December. The longest we've ever run for probably 5 years.
Yeah.
Total.
like that's not even a half month for me. That's not even a week's worth for me normally. So it felt very weird. We started again with New Year's Day park run. Obviously, it was raining but humid, so it was quite hot. And then the 2nd of January.
Yeah.
So that was yesterday for us. We're recording on a Wednesday. It was bucketing down rain. So Tim and I went for a play in the puddles, and our shoes are still drying out. So we'll go for a walk later on after the podcast recording. Or we'll just have to wear different shoes because they are very, very wet. So, we're just taking it easy, just slowly building up again.
Yeah, I think the break's been really good for us. I think sitting around and not doing anything on the weekdays when we'd normally be out doing our training runs in the morning, not doing long runs on Sundays, and just focusing on just recovering the body and getting some rest and sleep, which we haven't had for a long time. We're both fresh now. We're both itching, and we got to parkrun on the 1st of January, and it was like, we're ready to go. We want to run now. We want to get back into this thing called training. We want to lose the 5, 6, 7 kilos that we put on since Berlin. But we're in a good space mentally, I think, now for what lies ahead this year. And we needed that break because not only was it a busy 2023, but at the end of 2022, we also did London Marathon in October. So for us, we've done 4 marathons in about 15 months. So the body's had quite a lot of strain on it and stress. So
in 12 months, it would have been 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months.
4 marathons.
Yeah, 4 marathons in 12 months with at the end of Berlin. So it was nice just to have a good break at the end of the year, put our feet up, eat a lot, drink a lot, sit by the swimming pool over the holidays, get fat, and now it's time to start training for the next ones.
That's interesting because I hadn't thought of the London event that we ran in October 2022 as part of 2023. But fundamentally, Sharon and I did the same, 4 marathons over that 12-month period. So it's a big ask, and I'm glad that you have rested and recovered because the last time we were talking about the Gold Coast 50, and I just take my hat off to you, the amount of running and load that you do keep up. But I'm really, really pleased, and it's a really good message for all of our listeners and people that tune into us that you do need to recover. You do need to take some space and some time. And sometimes the best thing you can do is not run for you. The best thing for your running that you can do is to not run. So
gentle walks, some strength work, walking. We still did a lot of physical activity, just not that heavy intensity of running as well. So we shouldn't say we just stopped completely. We certainly did keep going, but we didn't do any heavy running or heavy cycling or anything like that. It was just walking and just really short ones.
Yeah, 5K
park runs.
That was it. As I said, 40 kilometers for the month each. That was it. But we won't lose a lot of fitness. It might take us 2, maybe 3 weeks in January to get back to the same sort of running distance and running that sort of half marathon distance on our long runs.
Yeah.
But we know that we've got a little bit of time before our next event, which we'll talk about a bit later on. But a month off isn't going to hurt us. It's actually going to make us better. It's going to give the body that break that it needs. It repairs those micro tears in the legs and muscles. And our mind. We actually get a break like this shutdown over Christmas, and I'm still on holidays now till Monday, and Tara is the same. So, we are literally just sleeping in till 6:37 where
it's so weird. It's like so weird waking up so late. It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
and there's people that are listening to us that saying asleep in 6:30. So
well, I work in construction, so I'm out at restart at 6:30 most days.
Absolutely.
So,
it's interesting you mentioned that you were doing some light walking because after the run on Sunday night for me, I said I just need to walk next week. I don't want to run. I don't want to put load on my legs. So we've walked, but we haven't run. And even our long run this Saturday is going to be a long walk.
Yep.
And it's just going to be time on the legs, but just aiming for 3 hours just walking. So,
Yep.
and I think that's the best thing that I can do at the moment, just maintain some level of load, but not as intense as what it would be with trying to run. So it's and I think that this week will set me up. I'll know where I sit at the end of this week, I think. So
Yeah, and don't be scared to build in those rest weeks between now and Tokyo. As you said, you've got 9 weeks to have, 2 or 3 rest weeks where you are just walking between now and then isn't going to hurt you guys at all. You've got the leg strength, you've got the endurance already.
Yeah.
Mentally, yes, there's an issue there with your ankle, but you're strong enough mentally to be able to cope with that on the day. But you don't want to get to the finish line as a broken person. You want to get there as somebody who's fresh, ready to go. Okay, maybe undercooked in some of the training, but on the day everything will work out because you've got that past experience and that muscle memory.
Absolutely. I think I'll be right. So
not thinking you will.
It's the very first marathon we ever run was the 2018 New York Marathon, and I didn't train for 3 weeks before that because of injury. So I've always thought of that as a pretty amazing sort of an effort and to get across the finishing line that day. But I think when I look back on Tokyo, I just know Tokyo is going to be the crowning glory for me for what I can do in terms of what the mind can do. And I know that after Tokyo, I've got a 3-week break before I get back into another training log. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes. All right. So that's the welcome. So it's been a good welcome to the new year. So we're going to head over to our news break. So let's go. I'm going to flick it over to you, Tony. I know it's not necessarily in the run sheet, but I'm going to flick it to you mostly tonight. So you can have a crack at the bit there that says Tim. There you go.
All right. So the only real news, actually, there's some interesting news I'll talk about in a sec as well that's not on the run sheet. But the only news, the big news that has happened is that Eliud Kipchoge and Safan Hassan have been confirmed to run the Tokyo Marathon Sunday, the March 3rd in 2024. That's pretty huge.
You do know that Eliud Kipchoge will be staying at the same hotel that you are.
Yeah, I've got no doubt I will end up having a beer with the man.
Have breakfast with him like we did in 2020 with the other elite.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
It's good news. I wonder what the strategy is going to be, whether he's going to go out and try and break the world record and then head into Paris being the world record holder, or whether he's just going there as a bit of a shakeout run before Paris. Because Paris, the marathon's in August. So it gives him, a good sort of 5 months to recover and plan the assault on the third Olympic gold medal. So it's going to be an interesting strategy what he chooses to do there.
Yeah.
How he goes out. But Tokyo is a quick course. He ran it 2 years ago and was only about a minute off the world record at that time, but he took a wrong turn on the course and ran about 100 meters down the wrong turn, and before having to turn around and come back again. So that loss of momentum and that change cost him the world record on the day. So Tokyo is a good course for him. It is one that he went back and won it after he did that wrong turn. He took the lead and continued to keep going. But, he has fond memories of Tokyo. He's obviously won the Olympic gold medal it wasn't in Tokyo, it was at Sapporo, which is in the northern part of Japan. But he won the gold medal there for the Olympics as well. So,
and there is a hill on that course too, so it hopefully should help him a little bit.
Yeah, so it's a good flat course with some rolling hills, but the downhills are nice downhills.
Yeah, they're not there is some nice gradients on the downhill there for that one.
And the same will be with Safan Hassan, right? So she trained for Chicago coming off Budapest and the World Track Championships. She would have had in mind a goal to set the world record or become close to the world record, and to be honest, if Asafa didn't break the world record 2 weeks earlier in Berlin, Safan would be the world record holder now after Chicago. So she would have reset her training for the new time, and she would go out with a different strategy in Tokyo to try and maybe beat that world record. So you might find that there's 2 world records.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, very cool.
Yeah.
To
and
be
the
in that
conditions
position again.
in March, the conditions are single-digit degrees in Celsius.
Yeah.
It's good weather for running. So
the other thing that so just moving on, that little piece of news that I had was about Melbourne Marathon. As we know, Melbourne Marathon sold out in some ridiculous time slot, 72 hours or something. It was a sellout, but during the week they sent out the email on other ways that you can actually join the marathon. So you can, and I think if I get this right, I'm much better than I thought I was. But one of them was charity. So they've got some charity places available where you can run for 2 charities, I think. Beyond Blue's one of them. And the other main one, you can go on the waiting list, of course, to go into the ballot if people cancel. But the other one that's still available for Melbourne Marathon is our friends at Travelling Fit, who are the official travel organisation for the Melbourne Marathon. So it was interesting to see that the sellout, and now all of a sudden they've got these additional places. So, whether that was always part of the strategy, and as we know, in a lot of the major events nowadays, it's the charity places that really drive the money and the income for marathon events. So it was just, I found that very interesting.
Well, Gold Coast is also sold out before the end of the year.
Early bird, yeah.
So the early bird had actually sold out. Like normally, I think they go on sale about the start of December.
1st of December they go on sale. Yep.
And obviously we always buy our, race entries then. But yeah, they sold out before the end of December, which is unheard of. Usually it's April, May before they sell out. So I don't know what's happening to the sport of marathoning, but maybe the Flying RuNR Podcast is, we're getting into everybody's head and we're like, yep, let's go and join the...
Tim, Tara and Tony can run a marathon, then anyone can.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
The podcast is interesting because they're saying they're capped at the number of participants. And the reason being is there's a really narrow section along Hedges Avenue. So anyone who's familiar with the Gold Coast, Hedges Avenue is a really narrow section for about 2 or 3 kilometres that you run along. So they've got to come up with a solution if they want more runners, which is what they're talking about and looking at. Whether that means they're going to alter the course to avoid Hedges Avenue, or whether that means they're going to send off runners in corrals in stagger them in a little bit so they can stagger the runners. But that may be difficult because Hedges Avenue is an up and down section, so you'll have runners going both ways. So it's how do you get those waves evenly spaced out that they're not going to clog things up too badly. So it'll be interesting to see what they do for the Gold Coast there.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Now, of course, there's not a lot of news happening in major marathon news, but Tara, I'm going to throw this one to you because I know this is we've got an event happening this weekend in Florida, and it just happens to be one of your favorite events. So what's happening this weekend in Florida?
Well, we have...
Hang on.
Oh. Okay. And for those who can see me, I have now got Mickey Mouse ears on, or Minnie Mouse ears on. So it's the Dopey Challenge. This is definitely one of my favourite races. I've got so much FOMO for not being there. We've got Steve and Kim Tudgman that are over there at the moment. Kay and Jed Mass that are over there, Michael Murray Marr from Travelling Fit. We've got a few people over there at the moment, and I'm just like, I just want to be there so much. So for those of you who have not heard about me rattle on about the Dopey Marathon or the Dopey Challenge, you've got a 5K on the Thursday morning, you've got the 10K on the Friday morning, half marathon on the Saturday, and the full marathon on the Sunday. Now, all 4 races go through the theme parks of Disney World in Orlando, Florida. You can pick one race, you can pick 2 races, you can pick 3 races, or you can pick all 4 races and do them all, whatever you want to do. Tim and I have done all 4, and our kids have done the 5K and the 10K. We had so much fun, and I'm just looking at all these people now going and doing it, and I'm just like, I want to do it again. So yeah, it's so much fun. It's got some really, really good things. Next week, we're actually going to do a bit of a recap of sort of like what sort of happened.
Yeah.
And also we're going to have a special guest on who's going to talk to us about the Dopey Challenge as well. She's a big Disney fan as well. And Lucia, who is going to be coming on, is actually one of the pacers for the Sydney Marathon as well. So she's up there with her running. She knows what she's doing. And, she's great at this sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much because we'll talk about it next week. But it's just one of those fun-filled marathons and race events and race weekends. It's really good. There's character stops, and you can stop and get your photo taken with Mickey Mouse or Dopey or whatever. So it's good. And typical America, it's full-on fireworks, marching bands, big medals that are oversized. Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
So we'll talk more about it next week.
Lots of fun, and they give you a really good snack box at the end. Always the food for me, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's important, yes.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk more about the Dopey Challenge next week and running Disney.
Can I take my ears off now?
You can take your ears off now, and we can move over into what we're here to talk about tonight, which is a review of last year and the highlights of 2023. We know that 2023 was a different year, I guess, in the sport of marathon running and road running in general. It was a year where world records were broken across multiple distances and different formats. It's where we've seen breakout performances from new athletes and athletes that were new to the sport. And we've made the comment before, Tony, about some of these runners. It's their first marathon and they're going out and running a sub, 2:02 or something like that for the men, or a sub 2 at 2:13 or 2:15 for the women, which are just phenomenal times. So it's been an interesting year, 2023. And it's one where it's been very hard to pinpoint for me just one particular performance as a highlight for the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Tara, and then I'm going to and then go to Tony, and then I'll come back to myself. But Tara, what's your elite performance of the year, and which performance is the standout for you?
Oh, look, you guys are all talking about all these newcomers and stuff like that. My favourite's still going to be Eliud Kipchoge. I'm sorry. Like, I know there's Kelvin Kiptum. I know that there's all these new world records being broken and stuff. But doing Berlin Marathon, being in the same race as the GOAT, and I know that people say that he's no longer the GOAT, but to me he is. He's got a proven track record. He's been there. He's run more than 3 marathons and done his time, earning his stripes is the nicest way to put it. So to me, his performance at Berlin, even though it wasn't a world record, his attitude afterwards, his graciousness, and because we did see him at the Hall of Fame thing, and just seeing him there and how much, how gracious he is about his sport, how much the people love him, and how much he is aware that he is where he is because of his supporters and obviously the hard work he puts in as well. But he is very gracious towards the people that he that help him along the way, and also all of us who admire him as a runner. So to me, he's still my elite performance runner of the year.
And I think it's, whilst people sit there and go, he failed, he still won a marathon major for the year. He ran at the time the 8th fastest time ever in that race. And you were there, Tony, in very trying hot conditions at times during that race. Now, it was a bit cooler when he ran, but it was still warm for the day. And I think he was let down by his pacemakers a little bit on the day as well.
Yeah, and he was also coming off a disappointing effort in Boston. A disappointing effort for him in Boston. And to be back on the starting line ready to go is just a true testament. So that's very much a worthy performer, elite performer of the year.
Now, Tony, I get a feeling I know who your elite performer is going to be this year. You've talked about her numerous times in the past, but let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Who is your elite performer of the year this year for 2023?
Yeah, I think we saw some incredible performances this year. And even when I think back to like the Gold Coast Marathon, watching Brett Robinson, just his effortless running style to win the half marathon. We talk about our friend Cameron Avery with his swoosh. I think that was a real close one. Kieran D'Amato, who broke the American half marathon record at the Gold Coast. So, there was some pretty amazing efforts and performances that we all saw and witnessed in just our journey. But yeah, I can't go past this lady. Safan Hassan is just changing the way we view a marathon. To win London in her very first marathon, after doing 3 or 4 things that were fundamentally wrong during a run. I still remember the commentators saying after she stopped to stretch out a bit, "Oh, she's gone. She's off the back of the pace." And then a kilometre later, she's up with the lead pack again. It was just a phenomenal effort, London. And then to see what she did in Chicago after coming away from the World Athletics, where she ran, well, she probably should have picked up 2 or 3 gold, and just some unfortunate thing. It was the 5,000, I think, that she fell.
Yeah, she tripped up. Yep.
She got tripped up. So, she's an amazing performer. She won 2 marathons. Her first 2 marathons, she's won them, and they're both majors. So I just cannot look away from Safan Hassan, and really looking forward to seeing what she does in Tokyo and next year. And what I love about her is just that she's so humble, and she's got a real appreciation of the effort that it takes to not just run a marathon, but she's amazed that she finished London. I still recall the
12Ks crowds. Yeah.
Yeah. So so she's mine. She's my elite performer of the year.
And I guess there's no surprises with mine. I've been tossing and turning a little bit about this one, and I did watch Chicago Marathon again just recently, the whole marathon, because that's what I do when I'm not doing any running. I've got time to watch running. And look, Kelvin Kipton's run on that day was phenomenal. And to back that up after London and doing what he did in London was also phenomenal. But I would have to say what Tajist Asafa did in Berlin and destroyed the world record by over 2.5 minutes was just phenomenal. What she did, that race and that run, she was well paced by a pacer who cleared the way and ran with her, but she was the one who was able to keep the pace, and she kept a very strong effort the whole way through. She was able to get a bit quicker towards the end there. And, she's still 2 minutes quicker than the second fastest time in the world. Now, there's people out there that are saying there's some drugs or there's some other things that are not quite right with just Asafa. I don't know. I think we'll find out all these things in the next few years, whether people have been on drugs or not. They're saying same things about Kelvin Kipton at the moment as well. I don't think we really know whether it's drugs, whether it's the shoes, whether it's training techniques, whether it's other things that they're doing. But if you just look at that performance and what she did in Berlin, where she just destroyed the field, destroyed the world record, that was just a phenomenal run. And for me, Tajist Asafa gets it just a little bit in front of Kelvin Kipton.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I picked up during the week around Kipton particularly was, and I've talked a little bit about the paces and the style of pacer and in some of these majors, but there was a photo during the week that, and I don't know which event it was, but showed Kipton as a pacer in an event, and it might have been Tokyo. So while some of these people are coming out and winning majors in their first, second, or third marathons, which is what we're seeing more and more of, potentially they're being groomed to do that by running being a pacer at a certain pace for a 31K run. And then potentially that's what's gearing them up to just come into marathon running just in a big way. So, I'd hate to see in a couple of years that there's some doubts or some aspersions placed on the records that we've seen this year. I mean, no one wants to see that. So when I saw that Kipton was actually part of a pace crew for a race, I'm thinking, well, there's something in that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's been, it's not just in the marathon. There's been world records broken across all distances, and there was one even broken on New Year's Eve in Spain. The World Road 5K women's time was broken.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, it's 13 minutes and 14 seconds or something like that is the new 5K world record.
13?
14 minutes and 13 seconds, I think it was. Yeah. It was just phenomenally fast. So again, is it the shoes? Is it the drugs? Is it just training techniques? Is it just genes and genetics? Well, we won't know for a couple of years. I hope it's all not drug related, but I think the shoes are helping. I don't think the shoes are helping on race day. If you listen to the athletes, you listen to the experts, the shoes aren't necessarily making them face faster on race day, but what it's doing is allowing them to recover quicker because it has less impact on their bodies, so they can go out and do 3 or 4 harder runs during the week rather than maybe 1 or 2 that they would have done beforehand. So, maybe that is the benefit of these shoes. So, I guess that is our elite athletes. Now for us, back of the pack is what were our highlights, I guess. Again, starting off with you, Tara. We've all been to some big races and little races. So, Tara, what was your personal sort of highlight this year in 2023 from a running perspective?
Oh, look, I really was quite happy with my Berlin performance. It was a PB for my majors, so I'm quite impressed with that one. But in all honesty, I'm actually really happy with my Gold Coast performance as well, especially doing the double. I did a 2:30 for the half marathon and then backed it up with a 5:02, I think it was, for the full marathon. So I pretty much stayed at a consistent pace for both the half and the full. And backing them up day after day, like to do a 5:02, I think it was, for my Gold Coast marathon, I was really quite happy with that after running the half marathon the day before. So look, I've run some good races, and I've had a DNF this year as well, but going over to Tokyo was fun.
You negative split Tokyo.
I did negative split Tokyo, so I don't know how I negative split a marathon, but it's always good when you get faster than the first. Maybe it's those downhills.
It's the fear of the yellow buses at Ginza that are waiting to pick you up. So at 32 Ks, Tony, there's a whole heap of yellow school buses waiting.
And when you watch them, you're just like, oh, I think I'll run faster now. We've had a good year of running this year, but I'm pretty happy with everything I've done, and I'm actually really happy that I did do that DNF at the end of the year. It sort of threw my confidence a bit with running again, thinking, oh, what's going on? Can I do this anymore? If I lost my love for it? And that was one of my good reasons as well for giving up running, or not giving up, but just tapering it back for December. I didn't want to lose the love for running. So no, I'm really quite happy with my running this year. But yeah, Berlin was good. It was fun to finish and look at that time and go, oh my goodness. So yeah, it was good.
What about you, Tony?
And it's good that you're wearing that Berlin shirt
yes,
as well. So no surprises. All right. So I had an amazing year. So and when I think back on the year, I just think, my God, we did Boston, Berlin, Chicago. I would never, ever in my wildest dreams have thought that I would have completed 3 major marathons in 1 year, as well as doing the half at the Gold Coast and a couple of other little fun runs around the place. For me, I think the learnings that I took out of Boston set me up for Berlin. And then ultimately my personal highlight was for Chicago Marathon. And for those people listening, I've got my Chicago Marathon cap and I've got my Chicago Marathon shirt on. So it was a highlight for me. Berlin was a great run as well. In total awe of Sharon pushing through the pain that she felt with the cramps that she endured during the race. But then for both of us to sync on a good day at Chicago was just incredible. So the learnings out of Boston, I think, built that for us, and because I never wanted to go through what I did at what happened at Boston, and we beat the cutoff by like 70 seconds or something, which is amazing. We did a 6:05 in Boston. And Boston's one of those races where it's a 6-hour cutoff from the time the final person crosses the start line. So you never know what it's going to be. And as it was, mine was 6:05, and we got home by about 70 seconds after my legs just became useless at about the 18K mark. So, but I took the learnings and prepped so much better coming into Berlin, and then ultimately just had such an enjoyable run in Chicago. And then, unfortunately, the bridge to Brisbane is probably my low light of the year, and the fracture of the fibula. But that's going to set me up now for Tokyo. The learnings I'm going to take from Tokyo, which then will hopefully allow us to have a great year from then on in. So that's it.
Yep. And I guess for me, whilst I've got happy memories of all the races I've done, and really enjoyed running with Tara by my side most of the time, or I did GC30, which was with Scott, a mate of ours, by my side the whole way. I think that's what I really get out of running. I'm sort of moving beyond wanting to do fast times and go for PBs, and I think 2023 was one of those years where I really switched that mindset around to just enjoy the run and enjoy the experience. And I've got a lot more out of 2023 by just enjoying the run. Yeah, there's still challenges. Gold Coast double was a challenge for me. I did the half, as you know, with Tara and Patrick, our son, and then went off and did the marathon by myself. But, I've just enjoyed running with people, making new friends, meeting new people, traveling. The experiences in Tokyo and meeting new people in Tokyo in March last year, and then going to Berlin, sitting on the river, having a few drinks a day or two before the race, everyone in shock and awe that we're drinking beers a couple of days before a marathon, going out and celebrating the event afterwards, and making new friends, going down to Munich afterwards. They're the sort of memories I've got from 2023 are more just enjoying the moment, enjoying the run, and not getting caught up in PBs and times and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we have our own sort of goals, and we hit those last year, but just enjoying it. I'm really just enjoying the moment of running now and not worrying too much about the time that we're taking to do a run. It's a good place to be.
Excellent place to be.
Yeah, so I encourage others, if they're feeling a bit in a flat spot, maybe just forget about times and put the watch away and run with somebody and see how you go. But I'll talk about that a bit later on as well. Okay, so that's 2023. We've talked about the elites. We've talked about our experiences. What about 2024? What are we doing this year for 2024, Tara?
Well, do you want me to go first, or you want Tony?
Maybe Tony. You go.
Yeah,
you go
let-
first.
All right. So 2024 for us looks like this. We're going to do 3 marathons again. We've got Tokyo in, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be 8 weeks away. So Tokyo will be our 6th start. So hence the reason why I'm really pushing through the rehab, because I don't want anything to get in the way of that. So but ultimately it'll be what it's going to be. So we've got Tokyo, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Maybe we've got a 3-week window there where we can, just concentrate on some smaller runs before then launching into our next 12-week training platform for the Gold Coast. So we're both running the Gold Coast. And we did get in before it was all sold out. So we're very, very pleased and happy that we were able to do that. And then once again, another little 3-week window and maybe a little bit more, not sure. But then we've got a 12-week training plan to get us to New York. So we're really looking forward to New York. It's going to be our victory lap. But I'm also looking at New York as in, because the first time we did it, we were 6:35 or something. And at the time, that was amazing for us because our first marathon, I was busted in many ways. I still remember stopping on the Queensborough Bridge and having to sort of straighten and put my kneecap back into place. So it wasn't the most pleasant of runs, but we had so much fun at New York. The time was immaterial. But I am actually looking forward to getting back and doing it in better shape and having a crack to get into that 5-hour zone for New York. So in between, maybe I've put the idea into Sharon's head. Maybe we can think about City to Surf in Sydney. I've always wanted to do that. It's 14 Ks. It's hilly. It's in August and registration opens in March. So got a little bit of time to think about that one. But I've got family in Sydney. I haven't seen them for a while. It would be a really good excuse to get to Sydney to run the City to Surf and probably a really good part of our lead-in training into New York from there. So really excited. Another great year ahead. So
it's the world's largest fun run, I think that is. They get over 80,000 runners to this 14K race that starts in the middle of Sydney and then finishes at Bondi Beach.
And it's got a massive hill that's called Heartbreak Hill, and it's huge. So yeah.
And they set off in waves. It's that huge. So looking forward to being part of the yellow wave, which I think I'm used to being part of a yellow wave, no matter where we run. So, So that's not confirmed, but I reckon I might be close to saying that as well. So 3 marathons and City to Surf would be our majors for this year.
That sounds like a good plan. So we've got some big ones coming up as well. Tim's bringing up the list because I can't actually remember them all that we've signed up for, unfortunately. So we've got Boston.
Your list is huge.
Just a normal year.
It's a bit like I'm never running a marathon again, and then it's like, oh look, there's another marathon, and you go and sign up for it. We're a bit crazy. So we've got Boston Marathon in April,
which we've only just started training for. So 3.5 months, and we're on track.
We're on track. Okay. The GC30. So we've got a 30K race in May. So it's about 3 weeks after Boston Marathon. We do that one every year. It's a really nice course down on the spit at the Gold Coast. Brisbane Half Marathon in June. That'll be a bit of a lead up to Gold Coast Marathon. So we're going to do the Gold Coast Triple. So we've got the half marathon on the Saturday, and then we'll back it up with the 5Ks
an hour.
An hour later.
So
and
finish the half marathon, wait an hour, and then do the 5K.
Yep. And then we'll do the full marathon on the Sunday. Hey, it's all more bling, isn't it? We've got the Jetty to Jetty 10K race in July, Sunshine Coast Half Marathon in August, Chicago Marathon in October, and New York in November, which is going to be our 6-star race. So yeah, we've got a bit on for our running. It'll be fun. It'll be just a bit of fun. And in between Chicago and New York, Tim hasn't agreed to this one yet, but I've been looking at this. There's actually there's a full marathon as well, but it's at the falls, at Niagara Falls, and I thought I might do the half marathon in between Chicago and New York because we're staying over there, and it might be just a bit of a shakeout. Yeah, it won't be fast. It'll just be a bit of a.
That would make sense, to be honest. Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, it'll just be a nice little shakeout run in between. It won't be fast or anything.
What's the time difference between Chicago and New York? 3 weeks?
3
Or is it,
weeks.
yeah.
3
Yeah,
weeks.
so
yeah.
October 13th is Chicago and November
Mm.
3rd is New York.
Yeah. So,
And so because we're just staying over there, it just makes sense to keep training over there as well. And we're going to need to do at least one of those longer runs.
Yeah, so if we can do that, and we'll do the 5K run in Chicago and get the bling for that, and get the bling for the marathon in Chicago, and get the bling for the
you get the bobble hat.
the bubble hat, and we'll get the bling for the Niagara Falls, and then we'll get the bling for New York for the 5K.
And then your 6-star, and you're going to need another bag to bring it all home in.
It'll be like when we came home from the Dopey Challenge with my whole handbag of medals. Yeah.
But look, it seems like a lot, but most of those runs we do, as I said, we're not racing in a lot of those runs. Most of them we just do for fun. Brisbane Half Marathon is just a fun run where we go out and have a bit of fun. I might run with somebody I have at work that is looking to boost up their speed, or I might go and run it myself. I might run it hard. I might run it slow. It just depends on the day. GC30 is the same. I'll pick up and run at a pace.
Do you like the course for Brisbane Half Marathon?
I wouldn't do the full marathon there, but the half marathon's got some good hills, and okay. It's a nice local event for us, so it's so short as well.
Sharon ran the half a couple of years back, once again when I was out injured. So
it has changed course since then. So every year that we've run the half marathon, it's been a different course.
Last 2 years. Last 2 years have been the same. So, now it starts at the Botanic Gardens. It goes down through Howard Smith Wharfs, wraps up over the Story Bridge, run across the Story Bridge around the top of Kangaroo Point Cliffs, back over the Story Bridge, back down around Howard Smith Wharfs, over the floating walkway there, up some hills through the top of Howard Smith Wharfs there, and then you head down to Newstead, Newstead, Tenerife, turn around and then come back. So it's a lot more scenic. You're along the river, but there's a lot more hills through it all. Setting out on a second lap for the marathon, knowing you've got all those hills in front of you, would be so nice. But it's a good event. It's actually picking up, and now that Brisbane's an Olympic city, this sort of marathon is getting some attraction to it as well.
And it is a better course than it used to be. I'll give it that. Like, it is a much nicer course to run. For the last 2 years it's been the same. So I do like that one more.
I've heard the marathon course for Brisbane has been called a bludger by some people that I know, that they hate the course, and it's part of that whole process of 2 loops. So
well, that's why I won't do the Cadbury Marathon, because the Cadbury Marathon down in Tasmania is exactly the same, just 2 loops of the half marathon. And I'm not really fond of doing loopy courses. So
mind you, your marathon PB is at Sunshine Coast, which is 3 loops.
Good point. Okay.
But it's one of those things, I guess, as I said, we set that many races. We tend to do that many races every year, probably not that many marathons. We'd only do 2 marathons, not 3. But now we're doing 4. But it'll be a challenging year, but one that I know we can get through. We've had the race in December. We're slowly getting back into it, and we run smart. If we feel like we're getting sore or there's strain on the muscles, we pull it up for a week or 2, get the massage with Wayno, and then we're good to go again.
Yeah, definitely listen to the body. We don't push through an injury, and we won't push through fatigue or anything like that. We do listen to the body and make sure that we are in top shape. And if we're not, we walk it out. It's time on legs before it is going to be distance any day of the week.
Very much so. And I think it's important for people to be looking ahead and to plan out the year, because it does get people excited. I know that we're already thinking of 2025, because I would like to run London again in 2025. So it's important to be setting goals and planning what events you're going to do. It's not just about setting yourself a target. Sharon and I have made a commitment that even once we get our 6-star medal, a lot of people can flatten off after that and think, well, what's next? We've got no interest in running the 7 continents, going to Antarctica. So then it's about, okay, well, let's just keep choosing a marathon that's overseas every year, and that's going to be our target every year, with no necessity to get special bling for it. So we're looking forward to that. But I think it's important for people now and to really think about what it is that they want to do, because we've already seen Melbourne's a sellout, Gold Coast is a sellout. Now, Melbourne's in October. And so if you're only now setting your plans for the year, you can't do Melbourne unless you're going to do it through the travel agencies or, a charity event. You can't
sales at travellingfit.com.
You can't do the Gold Coast for exactly the same reason. It's a sellout. I would imagine Sydney, once they release their tickets, their registration period, they're going to be they're going to have 15 to 17,000 entrants. So that's could be an option, but I would imagine they're going to sell out this year as well. So you've got to really be thinking about what are the events that I really want to do, and when you see them go, get into that early bird period. It's cheaper for starters, but you may not get a second bite at it once it gets, because they're not even getting out of early bird now, early bird ticket segment. So plan your years, get excited about what it is that you're going to do, and get out there and enjoy yourself, see different events. So
absolutely. And I do see on one of my running pages that I'm on, a lot of people are like, oh, I've been training for this marathon and now there's no tickets left or no entries available. And it's a case that, yes, once you commit that that's what you want to do, don't just train for it. You actually buy the entry and then train for it. Don't do it the other way around. You can always sell off your entry or forfeit or defer for the next year. Whereas if you do miss out, that's it. You've missed out and you've done all that training for possibly nothing. I know myself, once I've paid for something and I'm entered, it keeps me motivated to keep running as well. So if I can have that motivation of like, well, I don't really feel like getting up, but I've paid for this, so I'm going to do it. It's a bit like a gym membership, if that makes any sense. So, I've paid for it, so I might as well do it. It does keep me motivated to keep running as well when you don't feel like it.
We are planning 18 months in advance for what our next events are coming up. We're looking at them. We understand when the entry dates are. We're buying early. And there's a good thing called the Australian running calendar. If you just Google that, there's also a New Zealand running calendar, and I'm sure there is a US running calendar and a UK running calendar. And it's basically a calendar of all the events that are occurring around Australia or New Zealand or the US over the next 12 months or more. And on there, it lists when the entries go on sale. It lists the things. So you can just go into it and go, I want to run a marathon. I run it in Queensland. I want to run it in July or August, and it'll come up and tell you what events are on at that stage. So there's a lot of races out there that I've not heard of before, but they're on the calendar and they actually do exist. So it is worthwhile looking at that, but it is one of those key things. You've got to plan it out. We're already, now we've just early January now, we're already, Tara and I, talking about 2025.
So same as you guys. Yeah.
And we know we want to do Sydney because we've never done Sydney before, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Sydney will be a major next year.
Yeah, Sydney's on our eyesight for 2025 as well for exactly that reason. It should be the 7th star and wacko straight into
Correct. Yeah, so we want that. We know that next year we'll continue with the Gold Coast and do that because we enjoy doing the double down there, and we want to keep that sequence of doubles going because this year will be our 4th year of doing the fourth or third. Third. This year will be our 3rd year of doing the double, so next year would be our 4th year. But then we've got to fill in the gaps with the other events. Do we travel overseas and do another one? When do we travel? How early in the year do we want to travel? So we're starting to talk about that about 2025. So
I don't know if the bank account's going to actually be appreciative of it next year after this year's financial hit that it's taken.
It's the bank account and also the annual leave that boss will let me have off. But so they're the key things, I think, and planning out and strategizing what races you want to do hitting them up early so that you're guaranteed your entry, and then getting in and doing the training and making it happen once you've committed to it.
Yeah. Your tip.
Is it time for my tip?
It's time for your tip.
Oh, geez. All right. So tip for me this week, Tim's tip is run in a group or with some friends for better results. And I alluded to it before that I've had a better year this year of running, slowing down, running with Tara, running with other people, feeling better in myself for that. But running with people or groups or running clubs is also beneficial in that it can give you some form of accountability. You need to turn up at a certain time. You need to be there for somebody else to be able to run, and you don't want to let down your running mate. Running with somebody who is faster than you or stronger than you can also lead to your improvement in times and endurance and durability over the distance as well, as long as you're not being too silly with it and still listening to your body.
I was just going to say with that one as well, just be careful if you are running with people that are faster than you, that you are A, not injuring yourself because you are trying to keep up with them, and B, losing your love of running because you're not enjoying it because you're running so hard and so fast every single run that you can't keep up with them, so you don't enjoy it anymore. So A, you don't want to get injured, B, you don't want to lose your love of running. So that one's a really good tip, but just be careful of those two little things.
But it's more about the fun. Running with somebody else, and you can attest to it to Tony, I can attest to it with Tara. Running with somebody else is more fun. You're getting up, you're having a chat with somebody. It gets rid of those mundane kilometers where you're by yourself and slogging it out, that you've got somebody next to you who you can talk to, who's going through the same sort of pain or issues at that time as well. So definitely think about running with somebody. There are numerous running clubs out there. There are running groups. Anyone who knows me, I'm always up for a run as well. And I'm happy to run with other people. But definitely run with somebody, and it brings back some of that fun and enjoyment. That's my tip. All right, so that's my tip. We're starting to get to the end of this episode, our first episode of 2024, believe it or not, 2024. So, Tara, you've alluded to what's happening next week. What is happening next week?
Yay! So we've got Lucia with the Dopey Challenge. So we're going to she's a bit of a run Disney legend. She's run in Disney World and Disneyland. So but she's also a Sydney Marathon pacer. So she's actually got some really good tips on how to get yourself through those hard points, and also just keeping yourself paced for those long distance events, I guess. It'll be fun to have a chat to Lucia about the Dopey Challenge.
She's also completed 5 majors, and her 6th major is in Boston with us. Yep. So we can talk a little bit about her Boston training as well, and her experience on the other majors. So I'm really looking forward to Lucia next week and listening to her story. All right, so that wraps up our episode, our first episode for the year. Video of this episode is available at Spotify and YouTube, and audio will be on all the usual podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, and Google. Remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we'll catch you on the next episode. But until then, happy running, everyone.
Happy running.
Happy running, everyone.
See you later.